Hello, and welcome to Starry Storytime, a gentle, soothing space where evening stories and soft whispers guide you into a peaceful night's rest. Tonight, we're offering another relaxing tale designed to help ease your mind and lead you toward a comforting slumber. Before we begin, let's take a moment to prepare our bodies and minds for deep rest. Find a comfortable position, and with each slow inhale and soft exhale, let any worries from the day quietly slip away. It can be challenging to step away from the day's hustle, especially when it's time to sleep. Yet remember, the less we worry about falling asleep, the easier it becomes for our minds to let go of lingering tension. Allow the gentle rhythm of your breath to wash away any remaining concerns, and let tonight's story guide you into serenity. Now, settle in and let the soothing aura of Starry Storytime surround you. May you enjoy this story and drift into a tranquil, restorative night's sleep. Within the embrace of Oak Haven Village, nestled beside an ancient olive grove, stood the single-room dwelling where Lyra lived. Here, amidst the comforting scent of wood smoke and baking dough, she resided with her parents. Lyra possessed a sculptor's soul, coaxing intricate forms from olive wood gathered amongst the gnarled trees nearby. Her parents, too, were artisans. Her mother conjured loaves of bread whose aroma was legendary, while her father wove baskets of remarkable complexity. Their collective craft found eager buyers in the markets of Oak Haven and the surrounding hamlets. Though coin was not abundant, their lives lacked nothing essential. Contentment bloomed within the humble walls of their home, rooted deep in the soil of their small village. Yet, Lyra harbored a wonder unknown to others. Scarcely a month passed, while seeking the perfect branch for her chisel, she had stumbled upon a hidden cleft in the earth, a cave shimmering with enchantment. Within lay heaps of incandescent treasure, guarded by a formidable djinn. Because Lyra's hands sought wood, not gold, the djinn permitted her departure, even manifesting an ideal piece of olive wood for her art. Since that day, Lyra had revisited the cave's threshold several times. She never uttered the arcane words to breach the entrance again, preferring instead to leave small tokens just outside for the solitary guardian. Perhaps, she mused, the djinn felt a pang of loneliness, eternally vigilant over his hoard. Once she left a portion of her mother's ambrosial bread. It vanished with a soft whoosh and a fleeting iridescence. Another time, one of her father's masterfully woven baskets met the same ethereal acceptance. On her next visit, bearing a newly finished carving, she discovered a gift awaiting her. A pair of slippers rested near the hidden door. Crafted from supple crimson leather, they bore exquisite embroidery and threads of pure gold. The soles, thick and resilient, promised protection against the harshest elements. Yet their elegance suited the grandest festivity. Lyra slipped them on. They fit as if measured for her feet alone. Forged by a djinn, after all. A smile touched Lyra's lips, directed towards the unseen entrance. She pictured Zion, the djinn, observing her from beyond the magical veil. Voicing her gratitude for the splendid slippers, she placed her carving upon the earth. Whoosh, shimmer, gone, like the offerings before it. The ensuing weeks found Lyra and her parents immersed in the rhythm of market travel, journeying from village to village. The work was demanding but rewarding. At each stop, her mother's portable clay oven would emerge, its fragrant promise of fresh bread drawing crowds to their stall. Often, those lured by the scent of baking departed with a carving or a basket, sometimes both. Now, finally returned, their wagon lighter, their purses heavier, they settled back into Oakhaven. Autumn breathed coolly upon the land, signaling the wane of the bustling market season. Lyra welcomed the impending quietude of fall and winter, a time for replenishing her stock, for letting new figures emerge from the wood grain in anticipation of summer's return. Such creation demanded raw material. Lyra needed more olive wood. Dawn broke clear and bright, the sky adorned with only a few wisps of cloud. Donning her magnificent slippers, Lyra whistled for her dog, Zephyr. Together, they ventured towards the ancient olive grove. Tucked securely was a gift for Zayn, a small earthenware pot of honey, acquired from a fellow vendor in a distant market. Lyra and Zephyr meandered among the venerable trees, their trunks twisted chronicles of time, their leaves dusty ovals of silver green. Silence reigned in the grove, profound and serene, as if they were its sole occupants. Birds hopped, foraging in the undergrowth. Others trilled courtship songs from low-slung branches. Approaching the vicinity of the Jinn's cave, Lyra sensed an alteration. The entrance stood agape. Where previously mystic syllables were required to dissolve the rock face, now only an open passage remained. Hesitantly, Lyra advanced, peering into the darkness. No sound emerged, only the sight of a shadowed tunnel. A knot of concern for Zion tightened within her. She resolved to enter. Her last visit had been illuminated by spontaneously kindled torches lining the way. This time, no magical luminescence greeted her. Yet sufficient daylight spilled through the opening to guide her steps down the long corridor towards the main treasure chamber. The gloom lessened as she neared the vast space. Looking up, Lyra discerned a small aperture high in the ceiling, admitting a shaft of natural light. What this light revealed was staggering, an immense cavern, utterly void. Gone were the drifts of golden coins, some as broad as her hand. Vanished was the mountain of scintillating jewels, the canvases rich with oils, the statues carved from marble. As Lyra wandered the empty expanse, absorbing the profound transformation, Zephyr diligently explored the periphery, nose twitching, deciphering the lingering scents. Then he encountered something lodged within a recess of the cave wall. He scratched at it, whining when it refused to yield. His soft cries drew Lyra's attention. Investigating, she spotted a faint metallic gleam. Reaching into the hollow, she felt cool metal. After a brief struggle, she extracted a simple brass lantern. unremarkable and dull, unlike the polished ones that illuminated her family's cottage at dusk. Instinctively, Lyra rubbed its side with her sleeve. Abruptly, with a gentle sighing sound, Zion materialized before her, hovering in the air. Lyra stumbled backward, landing softly, while Zephyr erupted in frantic barking at the apparition. The djinn loomed as large as she recalled, easily twice the height of a mortal man, clad in voluminous trousers and a long tunic, cinched by a wide golden belt. He floated serenely a few feet above the cavern floor, a smile gracing his features as he regarded Lyra, whose eyes and mouth were wide with astonishment. Zephyr's barking persisted until Zion glanced his way. With a casual snap of his fingers, a substantial, meaty bone appeared, tossed towards the dog. Instantly diverted, Zephyr settled down with his prize. Lyra, relieved to see her ethereal friend unharmed, felt questions bubble within her. Once her initial shock subsided, she implored him to explain. Zion recounted how the thieves who used the cave as their cache had grown suspicious, fearing their secret hoard was compromised. As its designated guardian, Zion was bound to protect their plunder. He had kept Lyra's initial visit secret, unwilling to endanger her. However, when the thieves departed, one lingered, observing Lyra leave her gifts. Confronted, Zion confessed her visits, but swore she had taken nothing. Trust fractured, the thieves imprisoned him within the brass lantern, relocating their ill-gotten gains to another hidden location, somewhere within the kingdom of Eldoria. There he remained, trapped, until Lyra's touch freed him. Liberated, Zion expressed his gratitude, yet uncertainty clouded his features. His obligation to the thieves was dissolved. His path was now his own to choose. Should he remain in the cave, his home for countless decades, or embrace the traditional pastime of freed djinns, vexing mortals with illusions and tricks? Lyra gently discouraged this latter notion, inquiring if he harbored any dreams untethered to mischief. Zion admitted a long-held desire to travel, to witness the entirety of the kingdom of Eldoria. Lyra clapped her hands, delight sparking in her eyes. She, too, felt the pull of distant horizons. Her world had been confined to this small valley, a mere fragment of the vast kingdom. Tales she had heard painted pictures of mountains perpetually crowned with snow, of fertile plains yielding seas of wheat and barley, of sun-drenched groves heavy with oranges. And then there was the capital, Cygnus, where King Valerius reigned from his formidable stone citadel. Zion listened, captivated by Lyra's descriptions. Would she, he asked, accompany him on such a journey? Regretfully, Lyra declined, explaining her parents would worry if her return was delayed. The djinn merely grinned and snapped his fingers. Instantly, a large, intricately patterned carpet materialized on the cavern floor, or rather, hovering a foot above it. This enchanted carpet, Zion explained, could traverse the skies faster than any steed, offering unparalleled comfort and vistas. They could survey the whole of Eldoria in a single day. Lyra needed little time to consider. The yearning to see her country, coupled with this extraordinary opportunity, was irresistible. She nodded her assent, stepping onto the plush surface, and settling cross-legged near the back. Calling Zephyr, she watched him leap up and curl contentedly in her lap. Zion floated to the front, assuming the role of navigator. To the mountain villages, he commanded the carpet. With that simple directive, the carpet glided through the tunnel, out into the open air, and swiftly ascended. Soon, the trio soared above the treetops, moving with silent speed towards the mountain range that had long inhabited Lyra's dreams. Initially, a thrill of nervousness fluttered within Lyra. She had never before flown, but the smooth motion soon eased her apprehension, allowing her to marvel at the unique perspective. Below, the ancient olive grove drifted past. They flew over Oakhaven, her family's cottage appearing toy-like from this height. Within minutes, Oakhaven receded, replaced by neighboring villages, then the valley's edge. Journeys that would consume days on horseback unfolded in mere moments. As the valley yielded to the foothills of Eldoria's mountains, the carpet climbed, matching the rising terrain. The ground below grew rocky, scarred by the thin ribbon of a road carved for travelers. Higher they soared, the air turning crisp and cold. Lyra shivered, clad only for an autumn morning. Noticing her discomfort, Zion snapped his fingers. Instantly, Lyra found herself enveloped in a soft, thick woolen coat and hat, warmth spreading through her. Gratefully, she thanked the djinn. Soon, patches of white appeared on the rocks below, lingering snow. Ahead, nestled amongst the peaks, lay a village, even smaller than Oakhaven, she observed as they drew closer. Homes fashioned from mud bricks huddled together, their walls and roofs insulated with stacked bales of grass and straw. This insulation served a dual purpose, Lyra realized, spotting goats and sheep penned nearby, nibbling at their edible shelter. Thin tendrils of smoke curled from tiny stovepipes, piercing each roof. Evidence of wood fires warding off the mountain chill within. It seemed the inhabitants were indoors for their midday meal, allowing Zayn to land the carpet discreetly, just beyond the village perimeter, without attracting notice. Another finger snap, and the carpet vanished. Simultaneously, Zion altered his form. The towering, floating djinn became an ordinary, middle-aged man with kind eyes, walking firmly on the ground, though still garbed in his distinctive tunic and golden belt. Their purpose here wasn't social interaction. Lyra yearned to immerse herself in the raw beauty of this place she had only imagined. With Zephyr trotting beside them, Lyra and the disguised Zion walked away from the village, following a path that wound further uphill. They navigated around large boulders, where hardy, scrubby plants clung to life in the crevices. Their footsteps marked patches of snow, remnants of the previous winter, mingling with other prints, human, goat, sheep, and some Lyra didn't recognize. Zion identified these latter tracks. A lion, he stated calmly. Far from alarmed, knowing Zion's protective power, and intrigued by the prospect of seeing such a creature, Lyra suggested they try to find it. Eyes scanning the ground, they proceeded slowly, following the spoor of the great cat. When the tracks faded on rocky ground, Zephyr took the lead, his sensitive nose unerringly guiding them onward. The ascent continued, eventually leading them to a tall, solitary tree. Zephyr sniffed intently around its base, then looked up, emitting a soft bark. There, nestled amongst the branches, sat a magnificent lion. Its tawny coat was sleek and dense, the tips of its tail and tufted ears several shades darker. Its eyes, luminous gold, regarded them with evident shyness. Clearly desiring solitude, the lion remained still. Lyra hushed Zephyr, and after absorbing the sight of the beautiful creature, the trio quietly retraced their steps. As they walked, Lyra inhaled the clean, sharp mountain air. They took a short detour along a side path previously overlooked in their search for the lion. It opened onto a breathtaking scene, a pool of water, crystal clear, encircled by moss-dappled rocks. Feeding the pool, a waterfall cascaded from a high ledge, its descent shattering the sunlight into sparkling, multi-hued gems of mist. Had the air not been so chilly, Lyra would have gladly waded into the inviting water. Instead, she contented herself with admiring its beauty, warm and dry. Returning to the main path, they climbed to its highest point. Lyra gazed out, spellbound by the panoramic vistas. In one direction rose even taller peaks, mantled in perpetual snow. In another, far below, lay her own valley, miniature yet familiar. And stretching away elsewhere lay the rich tapestry of farmland, the breadbasket of Eldoria. That was their next destination. Back at their landing spot, Zion snapped his fingers. The carpet reappeared. The djinn resumed his true form. They settled onto the hovering textile, and Zion directed it towards the agricultural heartland. The carpet descended, gliding down the mountainside at a dreamlike pace. The landscape shifted rapidly, the temperature warming with every passing minute. Soon, Lyra shed the woolen coat and hat, the mountain chill a receding memory. Forests gave way to fields ripe for harvest. They soared over a large, prosperous-looking village before landing near an orange grove. Again, Zion concealed the carpet and adopted his mortal guise. Lyra gazed appreciatively at the orderly rows of trees to her left. It wasn't her beloved olive grove, but the shade and symmetry were inviting. Across the narrow dirt track to her right stretched a field of corn. Having never seen corn growing, Lyra was fascinated by the towering stalks, packed densely together. While Zion waited by the road, she squeezed between the plants for a closer look. She'd only taken a few steps when a strange voice offered a greeting. Lyra looked around, seeing no one. Besides Zephyr, the only visible creature was a crow perched atop a bent cornstalk, regarding her with bright, intelligent black eyes. Then, quite distinctly, it repeated, "Hello." Surprise flickered through Lyra, but then she reminded herself she had just descended a mountain on a flying carpet accompanied by a djinn. A talking crow seemed almost mundane by comparison. She smiled at the bird. "Hello," she replied. Intrigued, Lyra queried the corvid. "A voice like ours? How came you by such a gift?" The crow confessed ignorance, explaining it had simply listened to the farmers working the fields, and eventually began mimicking their speech. The farmers, it added, paid little heed. Lyra was the first person ever to respond. The crow mentioned it resided in the adjacent orange grove, visiting the field daily for corn. Lyra asked if it would show them its home. With a flap of wings, the crow launched across the path towards the shady trees. Lyra and Zephyr followed at a walking pace, joined by Zayn. They found the crow perched on a low branch near the grove's center. Quietude enveloped them among the trees, the sunlight filtering softly through the leaves, a gentle breeze stirring the air. Branches hung heavy with ripe fruit, their deep orange hue a striking contrast against the vibrant green foliage. As Lyra admired the scene, a young farmer emerged, pushing a wooden wheelbarrow half laden with harvested oranges. He greeted Lyra and the disguised Zion cheerfully, asking if they required directions. Lyra explained they were visitors, simply admiring the beautiful grove. Pleased, the farmer welcomed them to explore further and invited them to pick a few oranges for their journey. Mindful not to impose, Lyra selected only 2, thanking the farmer for his kindness. Peeling the fruit as they ambled leisurely through the trees, the group savored the juicy segments one by one, enjoying the tranquility. The crow remained their companion, flitting from branch to branch, sharing innocuous tidbits of local gossip. Eventually, the time came to depart for the capital city. Zion summoned the carpet with a snap of his fingers, and the trio boarded, waving farewell to the communicative crow. Zion instructed the carpet towards Cygnus. Swiftly gaining altitude, they watched the fertile farmland transform into a vibrant patchwork quilt below. Soon, the rural landscape yielded to denser clusters of homes and towns, signaling their approach to the outskirts of Cygnus. Zion directed the carpet to land within a small copse of trees, near enough to the city gates for convenience, but sufficiently secluded to avoid unwanted attention. He concealed the carpet, resumed his disguise, and the 3 travelers proceeded towards the capital on foot. It was market day in Cygnus, lending an extra surge of energy to the city. Shops and inns bustled, the wide streets teemed with makeshift stalls and simple wagons vending everything imaginable: fruit, bread, candles, clothing. Smooth cobblestones paved the thoroughfares, and sturdy, well-cut stones formed the facades of the tidy storefronts. Many buildings boasted charming window boxes, adding splashes of color against the prevailing gray stone. While the market pulsed with life and interest, Lyra had witnessed many markets before. Her gaze and her steps were drawn upward towards the castle. They navigated the throng, heading uphill towards the residence of King Valerius. The castle, too, was constructed of stone, but it was a unique granite sourced from a distant southern quarry. Its distinctive green hue made the edifice stand out, a verdant jewel crowning the city. As they neared the castle gates, an elderly man walking just ahead of them tripped on a loose cobblestone and stumbled. Lyra rushed forward, helping him to his feet and offering her arm for support. The man smiled warmly at her spontaneous kindness, assuring her it wasn't necessary. His home was directly before them. He gestured towards the castle, just as several guards emerged, hurrying towards them with expressions of deep concern. The old man, it transpired, was none other than King Valerius himself. The king explained to Lyra his habit of taking clandestine afternoon walks amongst his subjects, allowing him to gauge the public mood and hear concerns firsthand. Charmed by Lyra and intrigued by her companions, he invited them inside for tea, an offer they readily accepted. Flanked by guards, they passed through the imposing main entrance into a vast reception hall, the largest room Lyra had ever encountered. Chairs lined the walls, hand-woven carpets adorned the green stone floor, and dominating the space, raised on a dais, sat a single, massive throne, also carved from the green stone. But their host didn't linger there. King Valerius turned right, leading them through an unassuming door, down a short corridor, and into a much smaller, more intimate chamber. This room exuded coziness, furnished with plush chairs of equal height, tapestries warming the walls, and a gleaming brass tray laden with tea and cakes already waiting. Dismissing the guards and servants, the king poured tea for his guests with the easy grace of a practiced host. They talked comfortably of books and art, of journeys and discoveries. Lyra and Zayn spoke of their travels, allowing the king to assume they had journeyed for months by conventional means, omitting the detail of their magical transport. King Valerius listened, impressed by their adventures, and particularly captivated by Lyra's affectionate description of her distant valley and its ancient olive trees, a region so remote he had never visited. Their pleasant conversation was eventually interrupted by a guard, gently reminding the king of an impending meeting. Evening was approaching, and Lyra felt the pull of home, the desire to return to her own beloved valley. They expressed their gratitude and bid farewell to the gracious king, escorted back outside by a guard. The trio walked back towards the city gates, passing through the market as it began to wind down for the day. Vendors packed their wares, shoppers dispersed towards homes or nearby inns for their evening meals. Lyra, Zephyr, and Zayn reached the small stand of trees where their transport awaited. Zion snapped his fingers, and the carpet shimmered back into existence. They climbed aboard one final time. Zion directed the carpet back towards the valley, requesting a slower pace for this return leg. As they floated leisurely above Cygnus, a profound weariness settled over Lyra. She yawned widely, then lay back on the soft carpet, pulling Zephyr close. Closing her eyes, she let the gentle, rhythmic motion lull her towards slumber, replaying fragments of the day's incredible experiences in her mind. The snow-dusted mountains, the talking crow, the kind king. It had been a wondrous adventure, a tapestry of memories she would cherish forever. Zephyr sighed, snuggling closer, and together the two travelers drifted peacefully asleep, carried homeward through the twilight sky. Beneath your boots, parchment dry leaves disintegrate with a satisfying crackle as you meander down the country lane. Ahead, suspended from a weathered, sun-bleached gatepost, a slab of carved wood announces your arrival. Ember Hollow Farm. Far beyond, forested peaks slumber beneath a quilt woven in autumn's signature hues. Here, however, the terrain yields to flatness, a perfect cradle for cultivating gourds. Above, the skyline stretches, a hazy azure canvas dotted with clouds like drifts of cottonwood fluff. Your gaze drifts downward, snagging on a flawless maple leaf, resting near the sprawling crimson and gold tree beside you. Stooping, you pinch its delicate stem, lifting it toward the diffuse sunlight. Its structure is a marvel of natural precision. Unlike its crisp neighbors, this one retains a supple memory of its life aloft, still hydrated, firm. Too exquisite to abandon, you decide, tucking it gently into your satchel, a tangible piece of the afternoon. A zephyr sighs past as you approach the gate, a cool breath felt through the weave of your shirt. Instinctively, you draw your fine wool scarf closer. Your thumb finds the cool metal latch. Lifting it releases a rattle and groan, testament to its long service. Decades, surely, this sentinel has stood watch over the farm. Securing the latch behind you, you turn, and the air greets you thick with the mingled perfume of sun-ripened pumpkins and the sharp sweetness of apples. The entrance to the patch unfolds as a brief dirt avenue flanked by tall, slender trees. A mosaic of red, gold, umber, and russet leaves carpets the pale earth. Some surrender with a brittle snap underfoot. Others, still yielding, offer only silence. You near a small timbered kiosk, the point of entry. A woman, Ilara, sits within, offering a warm welcome. Pleasantries are exchanged, a brief, gentle cadence of voices. From your pocket, you retrieve the necessary coins and notes, placing them in her outstretched hand. Her smile widens as the metal cash box clinks open. She presents you with a ticket. You trace its papery surface with your fingertips, turning it over once, twice, before sliding it into your pocket. Past the booth, the farm unfurls more fully. Gourds in a dizzying array of sizes and colors sprawl before you. Diminutive orange pie pumpkins nestle near the spectral allure of pale ghost pumpkins, their thick, dark stems like handles, their sides gleaming with an eerie gloss. You ponder their taste, sharp or sugary. It's been an age since your last visit. The sheer, vibrant diversity that nature conjures, greens, mottled yellows, even party-colored wonders, feels like a rediscovery. Your eyes roam, taking in more than just the pumpkins. A stark white barn with a contrasting black roof stands nearby, echoing the ghost pumpkin's palette. Signposts beckon towards a corn maze, an apple orchard, hay rides, a bonfire. An especially inviting nook promises treats and warm beverages. A definite future stop, you resolve. To your right, a large map is mounted on a wooden post. You trace the route to the apple orchard, committing the farm's geography to memory. Purposefully, You set off towards the trees, anticipating the satisfying crunch of a perfect crimson apple. For a time, you follow a narrow path bordered by painted pumpkins, festive arrangements, and substantial hay bales. The farm feels tranquil today. A scattering of families and small groups are present, but it's far from overrun. A peaceful excursion awaits, a thought that settles warmly within you. Soon, you reach the orchard. It's intimate, perhaps only a dozen trees or so, yet each is laden, dripping with plump, ruby fruit and leaves still startlingly green. Below, the faded grass is strewn with fallen bounty. Another soft breeze stirs the air, its crispness finding the small gaps in the knit of your cardigan and scarf, brushing cool against your skin, yet bathed in the gentle autumn sun, cocooned in wool, a profound sense of comfort envelops you. Wandering slowly, you witness a gleaming red apple detach itself from a branch just ahead, bouncing once before settling into a drift of leaves. Intrigued, you approach. Leaves rustle as your hand delves into the pile, closing around the fruit. It feels solid, cool in your palm. Turning it, you inspect its surface. Glossy, unblemished, ripe. This one, it seems, was destined for you. Exiting the orchard via another shadowed path, you encounter a cluster of wooden signs pointing various ways. One, marked with a bold arrow, declares, "Candied apples." Your initial plan for a simple, unadorned apple evaporates as a new craving sparks. Fruit in hand, you follow the sign's direction. A minute or two of walking brings you to the promised booth. The stall offers glistening, freshly made candied and caramel apples adorned with myriad toppings, alongside the charming option to craft your own. After a brief chat with Silas, the easygoing farmer presiding over the station, he hands you a pointed wooden stick. Carefully, you impale the apple, guiding the stick through its base and into the core. Once secure, you slowly submerge it into a cauldron of bubbling, rich caramel sauce. The intoxicating scent of smoky, molten sugar rises to meet you as the viscous, hot liquid cloaks the apple's skin. Your mouth waters in anticipation. For the final flourish, you roll the sticky sphere in a bed of finely chopped peanuts. Perfection. Thanking Silas for his assistance, you turn away, heading back towards the main expanse of the patch. A pair of children, hands clasped tightly, dash past, their faces alight with eagerness for their own caramel apple adventure. Presently, you spy a wooden bench, an ideal spot to relax and savor your creation. It emits a gentle creak as you settle onto it, surprisingly comfortable. From this vantage point, the patch spreads out in a glorious panorama. A straw scarecrow, clad in linen overalls, stands sentinel amidst hundreds of orange pumpkins, a kingdom of varying sizes. Lowering your gaze to the caramel apple, you rotate it slowly, admiring your handiwork. Its surface gleams, reflecting the soft afternoon light, and the single branch of a maple arching overhead. You lift it, taking a careful, deliberate bite. The crackle of the shell gives way to yielding fruit and sweet, nutty caramel. It's precisely as wonderful as memory suggested. You linger on the bench, absorbing the vista. The distant mountains form a jagged horizon, meeting an undulating line of ripe orange gourds. From here, it appears as though a tangle of stems, some curled, some straight, are playfully poking the sky. The very air breathes autumn. Undertones of cinnamon and apple mingle with the earthy sweetness of caramel and pumpkin spice, layered over notes of fallen leaves, damp soil, and dry straw. Every element conspires to create a feeling of profound warmth and coziness. The urge to select your own pumpkin stirs, but you resist for now, reluctant to be burdened while more exploration awaits. Instead, you simply contemplate the possibilities. Which shape, which size, would be the perfect souvenir? As you watch, families, couples, solitary wanderers drift through the rows of vines and earth. Cameras click. Others bend low, scrutinizing potential prizes, curiosity animating their features. Some pull small red wagons, children nestled within, clutching treasured gourds. Others carry their chosen pumpkins tucked companionably under their arms. After some minutes, you rise from the creaking bench, directing your steps toward the black and white barn glimpsed earlier, situated just beyond the orchard you've already explored. Instead of backtracking to the right, you opt for a path veering left. The day matures, the breeze sharpening its edge. You fasten another button on your cardigan, nestling deeper into its warmth. As you walk towards the barn, a trio of crows wheels overhead, their calls sharp against the quiet air. You glance up at the cloud-strewn sky, noting how the autumnal sun has begun its gentle descent. Rounding another turn, you arrive at the quaint barn, a central hub within the patch. It seems a natural gathering point for both farm staff and visitors. You spot two farmers, Finn and Rowan, leaning casually. One has a boot propped against the barn wall as they converse, occasionally sipping from steaming mugs cradled in their palms. Finn is clad in loose overalls and a brown plaid shirt. Rowan wears blue jeans, a simple shirt tucked neatly at the waist. Both sport sturdy, comfortable-looking boots. Their easy laughter drifts on the air as they chat, enjoying their warm drinks. The soft rustle of leaves fluttering in a nearby tree captures your attention. Turning, you watch as several detach, twirling in a silent ballet before settling onto the grass. A few catch the breeze, lofted towards the barn, drawing your gaze along with them. From the corner of your eye, you notice horses within an unpainted picket fence, grazing with quiet intensity. You pause, observing their slow, methodical rhythm. Bite, chew, swallow. A smile touches your lips as you admire them from a respectful distance. One is a deep chocolate brown, its mane a perfect match. The other, a golden dun with a flowing blonde mane. A sudden gust tosses their fine hair, and they shake their heads impatiently before returning their focus to the grass. Noble, magnificent creatures you reflect. Just then, another farmhand emerges from the barn's rear. She begins to groom the chocolate-brown horse, which visibly relaxes under the attention. Deciding it's time to move on, you leave the horses to their peaceful grooming and grazing. Activity hums around you. A tractor pulls a wagon laden with hay bales, families assembling nearby for a tour of the farm. You recognize this quintessential pumpkin patch experience, briefly tempted by the thought of the crisp air rushing past, the gentle jostle of the ride. But you cede the opportunity to the waiting groups. As the wagon fills and departs, a sudden quiet descends near the barn. You find yourself almost alone, the stillness amplifying the sense of serenity that permeates this place. A distinct crackling sound drifts from the far side of the barn. Recalling the map, you realize it must be the bonfire pit. You walk towards the sound, noticing tendrils of smoke rising as the crackling intensifies. You arrive at a circle formed by cut logs centered around a medium-sized bonfire, glowing warmly within a ring of stones. The familiar, comforting aroma of burning wood fills the air. Few scents feel more intrinsically autumnal. The entrance to this area is marked by an archway crafted from rough-hewn wood, adorned with dried corn stalks. Flanking the entrance are 2 hay bales, each displaying a curated assortment of decorative squash. Passing beneath the arch, you appreciate the thoughtful details woven into the farm's design. Above, strings of fairy lights form a twinkling canopy over the fire pit. Below, sturdy hay bales and logs offer inviting seating. To your right sits a covered stall where vendors dispense treats and warm drinks. With evening approaching and the temperature dropping, a hot beverage seems precisely the thing. You happily approach the stall, enveloped by the fragrant cloud of cinnamon and spice. The bonfire crackles companionably behind you, composing the perfect soundtrack. A handwritten menu on a chalkboard lists pumpkin spice hot chocolate, warm apple cider, and coffee. After a moment's thought, the pumpkin spice hot chocolate wins, fitting for the location, homemade according to the sign, and its earthy, chocolatey scent already seems to be beckoning you closer. The attendant, Mateo, smiles as he hands over your drink in a dark green ceramic mug adorned with painted pumpkins. You pay, offer thanks, and wave a brief goodbye. Turning, you contemplate the cozy bonfire again, wishing you could replicate its magic in your own backyard. You picture roasting marshmallows, watching them brown and crisp before yielding to gooey sweetness. You imagine gathering friends, sharing ghost stories fitting for the season, huddled close, warmed by the flames and cups of cider or tea. The lengthening nights would feel less daunting in good company. You cross the grass and choose a hay bale seat. Running your palm across its surface, you feel the rough, dry texture, catching its faint, dusty scent beneath the richer notes of the hot chocolate, warming your hands. Taking a deep, slow breath, you feel tension dissolve. Lifting the mug, you inhale the delicious aroma more deeply before taking a generous sip. The pleasant warmth spreads through you, soothing from the inside out. Closing your eyes, you tune into the moment. The rustle of leaves in the surrounding maples and birches, the steady crackle of the nearby fire, the layered scents of autumn embrace you. A profound sense of peace settles over you. As the sun dips lower, painting the sky in softer shades, the fairy lights seem to glow brighter, the fire warmer. It has been a truly beautiful day. Now you simply sit, sipping your hot chocolate, appreciating the season's crispness, the fire's embrace, the wind's soft song. Later, you will find that perfect pumpkin, and perhaps you muse, that backyard fire pit isn't just a dream. Maybe this season will see friends gathered for homemade pumpkin pie and stories. The possibility feels tangible, nourished by the atmosphere surrounding you. Cradling the warm mug in both hands, utterly content, profoundly cozy, you sit and offer silent thanks to the earth for the beauty of autumn and this wonderful day spent at Ember Hollow Farm.